Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by #basketball.com. Your host for the very best fantasy basketball. Why did I say it with like a confusion? It is the very best fantasy basketball analysis and tools on the entire internet. I wanted to make sure that it's #basketball.com. It's not .net. It's not .org. It's not .gov. It should be .gov. We should get the government involved. We need some more money. But it's #basketball.com. I am your host, Mike Catron, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Tyler P. Watts. What's up, Tyler?
You were just a year too late, Michael.
Well, a year too late. What did I miss?
Your Jordan Poole love from last year is coming to fruition. The 9th ranked player after 2 games.
I know. Isn't it a shame? I did like Jordan Poole going into this season as well. I guess I probably liked him better, unfortunately, last season. But yeah, there he is, number 9. Trae Young sitting at the top. LaMelo Ball, number 4. Brandon Ingram, number 11. Let's go. Let's go, Brandon Ingram. Let's go.
Getting the steals and blocks you said he couldn't get, Mike.
Yeah, he showed me. I still thought he was underrated in drafts. He was one of the guys where it's like, why is this guy going like the 80s? He's not that bad. He'll eventually sit out 24 games, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, that's why he probably should have won the 80s. But I want to remind everybody as we are going into week 2. We are listing off names like Cam Thomas is the 17th ranked player, CJ McCollum 16. With small sample size theater is in full force right now. There's been a lot of people overreacting. There's been a lot of really slow starts from various very good players, and there's been some really, really hot starts. We're 2 games in. So, okay, Jason Tatum is 3 games in. So is Anthony Davis. Everybody else, Franz Wagner, let's go. 3 games in. But everybody else, they're 2 games in. And it's only week 1. It's been a fun week. It's been an exciting week. Tyler, I wanted to ask you, in week 1, who did you go out immediately and pick up at the waiver wires? We, in our last episode, preparing for week 1, we explained, listen, you have to pick up people on the waiver wire this week. You got to do it. Who did you go out and pick up?
Well, the first person I don't think I had to pick up because I told you that he was going to be a top 100 player, and some of you probably weren't listening, but Dyson Daniels, the 27th ranked player, playing very well for the Hawks. Had him on quite a few teams, and that's turning out well. And he was not really being drafted, so obviously that's gone well so far. Some other guys that I think have been playing well and are probably maybe worth picking up. Norman Powell, especially if you need points and threes. Like Norman Powell, gonna do a lot with the Clippers. 37th ranked player right now. Like
kind of wild. Like I think a lot of people, and myself included, at the end of drafts, you're going for upside. You know Norman Powell is going to be there. A lot of people didn't draft Norman Powell like anyone. Like he went undrafted. He was on waiver wires, and with the situation in LA, that's an obvious like boring roster, but he's capable. He's capable of scoring. He's capable of having those games.
For sure. I also think like Christian Braun, who's starting for the Nuggets and is going to need to do a lot of stuff. Now he's 42nd ranked player, mostly on steals and blocks, which probably aren't going to stick, but another interesting guy who's playing a lot of minutes. We talk about this all the time. Like minutes is a very important stat in fantasy. Another guy that I mentioned, Trey Mann, in the preseason. Like Trey Mann had a couple good games. Another guy that you could look at and maybe pick up, and even if you only keep him for a short time, like that's another guy who seems good. And the last guy I want to ask you about, it's Yves Macy from the Pelicans. Now you were on this guy, right?
Yeah, this is the one I was like, hey, everyone, listen up. The Pelicans don't have a center unless you pick a Danny Tice, but they didn't have a center, and I was like, this if this other BC guy gets fucking minutes, yo, he could be one of those like per minute weird block rebound guys. He kind of looks like one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, only 22 and a half minutes, and he's the 84th ranked player. They clearly don't have a center, so I mean, that's somebody worth picking up and maybe holding, or maybe just streaming. And I mean, it's worth monitoring how his minutes go too. Like, are his minutes trending up? Are they trending down? Like, he's a rookie trying to be someone starting center on a team who wants to make the playoffs. So
Yeah.
it would not at all be surprised if at some moment they upgrade that position. But for now, I mean, it feels like he is a fairly safe, 20 to 25 minutes a game, and rebounds and the blocks probably are going to be there.
He is. For some reason, not in my rankings. He is going to be. I think it's going to be very volatile. Currently 77 overall on hashtag the minutes are going to be super variable, right? And it's worth keeping an eye on. And I think there's like three types of guys. As the season goes on, it's like there's like one type of guy to pick up, but there are three types of guys to pick up at the beginning of the season. Number one, your Dyson Daniels. Like, hey, this guy was possibly a flyer, possibly a waiver wire guy, and he's got the talent, and if everything goes right, and he's in the starting lineup, and he plays the minutes, he could be like a fantastic fantasy player. Or he could be a flash in the pan, but if you get like a good couple weeks out of him, that's also fine too. But those are the guys who are like, I'm taking a full chance on his future. Like, that's a rest of the season pickup. That's someone you're like, this could be like my Desmond Bain pickup. Like, it could be, the pickup that kind of swings your position in the league because you just went out and got maybe a top 75 player, maybe an even better player than that, directly off the waiver wires. And then you have, I'd say, the second type of pickup here in the first couple weeks is the guy I probably should have rostered in the first place, like your Norman Powell's, right? And then the third guy, I think, are the situational, and eventually, like, this is the only guy who's left to pick up off the waiver usually, after about a month or so, is the situational player. Santi Aldama, right? He played when Jaren Jackson was out. Now Jaren Jackson's back. He's probably not going to play, but the minutes, he's like a top tier. Hey, he's going to play tonight. Let's stream him in. Andre Drummond, he's going to play tonight, 30 minutes. Stream him in. Right? I think, who else did I pick up? Nick, what was that guy's name? Oh, Nick Richards. Nick Richards is playing. Nick Richards is starting. I'm gonna run Nick Richards till everybody's healthy on the Hornets. Right? Like, I don't know. Do you know when Mark Williams is coming back? Here in a week or two, right?
I mean, they're a team that's not always the most forthcoming with information. So good luck. He still has a foot injury. When does he play? That's a good question. I wish I could tell you the answer to that question. It doesn't seem like it's going to be immediately, but it could be a week or two. It could be months. Who knows with the Hornets?
That's very true. It's important. It's like, I think it's important to like keep track of, like, first off, to make your immediate pickups of guys who could be like season swingers, right? But it's important to start like remembering Aldama, Clowney, like these guys who could win you a week just for streaming in the right way, like picking them up on the Sunday and then keeping them for a couple weeks while while Mark Williams is out, you're running with Nick Richards for the week, right? If you did that this week, you probably going to win your rebounds, like I would imagine. And I think other than waiver wire stuff, which is what we talked about in the first week, exploiting other people's panic, there have been some significantly slow starts, Tyler. Um, the number one that comes to my mind because I was very big on him, and I am 100% not worried about it or thinking about it or thinking about dropping him, trading him, getting rid of him. I'm not worried about Jalen Johnson at all. Jalen Johnson's having a slow start. A lot of players are having a slow start.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2 to 3 game sample, so I'm not worried about anyone's really slow start in that sense. But like, yeah, if you can convince somebody that, I mean, I don't know who's been bad to start off. That's really really good. Drew Holiday is the 130th ranked player. Like, if you can buy him for outside the top 100 value, great. Giannis is the 136th ranked player. Like,
Yeah.
you can buy him,
Jimmy
great.
Butler's down.
And
Jimmy
if
Butler
you
had
can
a
buy Jimmy Butler,
horrible game the other night. Great. Go
and
put a
what three
trade in
points
for him.
and right, and I think a lot of those guys, like, I'm not panicked at all about anybody like Tyrese Halliburton, right? He's shooting 23% and the 154th ranked player. Like, if you can buy him for a fourth or fifth round player, like, go do that.
Yeah.
Sure, great.
And I wonder, like I think if you're in a schlubs league and you could just trade nothing for Tyrese Halliburton, like maybe here's the thing. Maybe try to play in a harder league, all right? Like it's fun to exploit other people and win, that's fun. Play in a harder league. But like Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey, all the Tyrese's having a bad start. Um, I don't feel like you're gonna get big money for them. But like Jimmy Butler has question marks, right? Like, he's getting older, this, that, and the other thing. Jalen Johnson, the person who owns them, might be like, well, I don't really even know who this person is. So he was ranked well in the rankings I looked at preseason. And you might be able to swindle a couple really good players right now. I think like D'Angelo Russell isn't having that great of a start, and like that's not a name I'd be like, oh, D'Angelo Russell, we got to go get him. But like, if you can upgrade like a bench guy to D'Angelo Russell, who's like a top 60 guy, and so you go from a top 80 guy to a top 60 guy, it's those little increments that end up like mattering in the long run. And I think like right now is a watch out for that mic. Fantastic time to exploit those particular slow starts. But Tyler, there's also been some hot starts, like piping, piping hot starts um, to start the season. And I kind of I'm going to throw a couple names at you, and I want you to give me like for real. Is this guy faux real? Like, and you can I guess you could say whatever you mean, whatever you define as faux real. I don't know if I'm allowed to say faux real. Um, Whatever you decide, is it like, hey, yeah, this guy's actually taking the leap, even though he's ranked seventh. Like maybe I don't think he's going to be ranked seventh the whole year, but he's going to be better than we thought. Or yeah, don't worry about this guy. He's not for real. The one that comes to my mind immediately. Well, let's start with the one you already mentioned, Jordan Poole. For real or not for real?
Beyond fake. So, do you
Ooh.
know why he's ranked ninth?
Is it
Um,
the crazy steals that he had?
yeah, 3.5 steals a game. Uh, 5 3 pointers made, 20 points, 50% from the field, 100% from the free throw line. So yeah, I mean, like, he's not making every free throw. We've seen him not shoot the ball that well in the past.
Uh-huh.
He is not a big steals guy.
No,
So
no, he's
yeah,
not.
like, so again, like, this is just, he got, and we've seen this a lot. We say this a lot too, right? Like, steals come in clumps. Like, a lot of times, like, people get like, 3 steals and 2 steals and 2 steals, and then they don't get a steal for 5 games. Like, he had the hot stretch of steals, and those are not sticking around. He's also, this is the craziest part. He's averaging 20 points a game, taking 13 shots a game. Like, that's probably, if he's only taking 13 shots a game, he's probably going to average, I don't know, in 16 points a game, which is not great.
Yeah, that seems. I mean, that seems like very unlikely, right? Like, maybe he has a little bit of. I mean, he had a pretty shit season last year from shooting 41%. Maybe it's closer to 44. Like maybe he does get back to kind of a Golden State level of field goal percentage, right? If he does, you're still looking at like a 20 like 20 a game, it's a little over that, right? Like that's I mean that's good. He's a solid player, and he's now taking on like he did at the end of last season those assist playmaking abilities, which is exactly what we wanted to see. But that's when we were telling you to draft him, in the 80s. Could he be a top 50 guy this season?
Could he be? He could, I guess. I wouldn't bet on that.
I wouldn't bet on that either. The next guy I want to ask you about,
He
and oh,
he
go ahead.
was going 85th in drafts though, so I feel like is he better than the 85th ranked player? That's a decent potential, isn't it?
Oh, he's better than the 85th ranked player. Absolutely. Because of the
Right, and
assist.
that's where
It's
he was
simply
going in
because of the
drafts. So like,
assists.
this actually might be a chance where like if you could buy him at his draft day value, it might not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, if you could just kind of like slightly overpay for him, go for it. But I would much rather, and I'm going to call this, and I put this out on Twitter at Watch the Boxes. I'm going to call these next two guys a very rare situation. We always buy low and sell high, but I think I might be looking at two buy high situations. The one I mentioned on Twitter was CJ McCollum. Like CJ McCollum, right, was being drafted after Jordan Poole, like 87 on Yahoo, 87 on Fantrax. I'm not even going to look at the ESPN number. I think a lot of people thought he would be a bit pushed to the side by DeJounte Murray. And when he played with DeJounte Murray, it didn't seem like it. Like CJ, we got to remember CJ McCollum was playing with Dame many, many, many years and being incredibly effective during those years. His assist numbers should suffer around DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray is out for like what, at least a month with a broken hand. Maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. So CJ McCollum's going to take up a little bit more of the playmaking duties here. If you can
Yeah,
move, I think he's like he's could have himself just another top like 60 season. And if you can shift a guy who you got in the 60s, 70 range for CJ McCollum, who was drafted in the late 80s, you might be buying high, I guess, but you're not buying you're buying high on his ADP, but not on his overall talent.
yeah, that's all fair. Obviously Murray's out for a while, and when Murray gets back, like there's no saying that Brandon Ingram and Zion are healthy, like two guys with some fairly significant injury histories. So, and McCollum being that kind of third option could stick for the whole season, and he might even be the second option at points, right? When two of those guys are out. So, yeah, I think McCollum. I mean, we know what he is at this point.
Yeah. Is he the 16th ranked player the rest of the season? Absolutely not. But if you are the person who owns CJ McCollum is like, oh hell yeah, I'm getting like really good value out of CJ McCollum, who's just having like a really nice start. I got it, but he's like obviously not good. And when DeJounte Murray comes back, he's not going to be good. I would actually say he is going to still be good when DeJounte Murray comes back. So like that might be the right time to make a move for CJ McCollum when DeJounte Murray's been announced like, hey, DeJounte's coming back, blah blah blah. You're like, oh, cool. He's like, hey, I'm going to sell high on this guy. I'm going to get like something good back. And if you didn't, I mean, I'm not getting, Franz Wagner talent. I'm not getting like top 50 talent. But if you can would you rather have Julius Randle or CJ McCollum?
Ooh, I think Randall, just because I feel a little bit better about like him getting a few more assists.
I think I might want, depending on your build, I think I want CJ McCollum actually. He's a good scorer.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
He's a good assist. He's a good scorer. I know Randall does the opposite. He's a good scorer, but he gets the good rebounds. The buy high, like the buy high player of the year. How about that? You could say it's Chet Holmgren, but it's not Chet Holmgren. Evan Mobley is doing things that I feel like we thought he was capable of like a year or two ago. Like everybody was kind of like, "Hey, you know who's like the two best young players in the league? Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes. They're going to be so good. The teams are talking about them. The coaches are talking about it. Other teams are talking about them. Those guys are untouchable on their team. They're going to be like generational players." And then like a year went by and nothing happened. And then another year went by and nothing happened. And then Scotty Barnes broke out. And I was like, oh, I guess Scotty Barnes is one of those types of talent. We could be seeing the Evan Mobley breakout right now. I am willing to buy high on Evan Mobley right now.
Well, we've seen Kenny Atkinson have success um, developing young talent, right? Um, he was the Nets coach that year where they made the playoffs and nobody thought they were going to, right? And so I think, Jared Allen pretty much broke out under Kenny Atkinson, right?
Yeah.
So I think we've seen a lot of very interesting things from Evan Mobley. We've also seen, the steals up, the blocks are up, the points are up because there's more shots. He's shooting threes, he's making threes. So all those are good signs. And yeah, I think Evan Mobley uh, should go higher than his draft day value, right? Like although he was being drafted 38th
Yeah.
on Yahoo, which is high, right? But like he's gonna need to do a lot of things to get there. But like I don't think he's the 12th ranked player, but would he be a third round player? I could see him being a third round player, and I could see him like maybe even going in this late second, early third round next year.
Yeah. I think the blocks getting closer to two is sustainable. The steals are so variable, it's probably going to be closer to one. But what I like to see is like you're saying the threes that he's hitting. And here's another two stats actually, and it's small sample size theater. Don't get too excited. But one of the things I think we said when Donovan Mitchell came to the Cavs was that shit, Evan Mobley will never grow if he's not able to have the ball, and Donovan Mitchell always wants the ball. Evan Mobley is getting to the line 5 times a game, and he's shooting 2 more shots than he did last year, which is like, in my opinion, significant because I think that number can go up, especially if he's playing this well. That number can go up. He's getting the line more, he's shooting more, and he's hitting more threes. That's a much more versatile player whose offense will grow. The rebound numbers are still right there. The assist numbers are still right there. Like, I think he beats his ADP of 38 this season, which is why I'm willing to throw a second or third round player that I'm like not terribly excited about at Evan Mobley. I think I would be willing to trade LeBron James for Evan Mobley.
That's bold. That's bold for sure.
Yeah, I might try to get some extra back with it, but I'm like that high. I'm that high on Evan Mobley.
Yeah, and I mean Evan Mobley has all the ingredients for a breakout, including someone who clearly wants to give him more opportunities in Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah, and he's 23, not 40. So that helps a lot. And that's no hate on LeBron's slow start. Like LeBron is going to do LeBron things all year long. But if you kind of
We saw it, right? That
yeah,
in that Saturday night game, we
yeah,
saw it. Like he had that really hot start to the fourth where he scored like 16 points. Like he can still rev the engine when he needs to.
he's still LeBron. So like I'm not like suggesting that if you have LeBron, go trade LeBron right now. But I'm willing to say LeBron's a second round player. Evan Mobley potentially is a second round player. And if you'd rather ride with Mobley, go right ahead. If you'd rather ride with Chet Holmgren, go right ahead. Like that's another hot start where I'm like, oh, something looks different, right? Same with Evan Mobley. It's like, ooh, something looks different. Nothing looks different about Brandon Ingram or Buddy Hield. That's what Brandon Ingram and Buddy Hield can do over a week or two. Same with CJ McCollum. Like, that's what he can do over a week or two. I'm just saying, like, everybody was out on CJ McCollum. Everybody was out on Brandon Ingram. But, like, those guys for a few weeks can be super dominant. Jeremy Grant, 19th ranked player, he can be super dominant for, like, a couple weeks. There's something different with the way Evan Mobley looks, Chet Holmgren, and I'd even say Franz Wagner looks a little bit, just a little bit more versatile, a little bit more fluid on the court.
I'll give you one that I'm buying high on.
Okay.
This is not at that level, but this person went 88th in drafts,
Okay.
and I think he might be a top 50 player, and he's been the 30th ranked player so far. It's Austin Reeves for the Lakers.
Oh.
Um, so Reeves is handling the ball more. And I mean, he averaged 5.5 assists last year. Like most people don't realize that. He's handling the ball more. He's taking a few more shots. Reddick has talked a lot about like basically giving him a lot more freedom to attack, and he wanted his free throw rate to go up this year. Now it's actually down through 3 games, but again, 3 games, tiny sample. Like if we see Austin Reeves, shooting 40% like he did in 2023 from 3-point range, that team's clearly trying to take more threes, right? Like
Yeah.
they want Reeves, who's one of their best shooters, firing more threes. He's now in leagues where it counts turnovers, like his turnovers are up, and they're going to probably be up because he's handling the ball more. But, like, everything else I think could be better. And I think he could maybe, like, kind of sneak in the back end of that top 50. And he definitely was not being drafted anywhere near there.
I want to pull up the last Lakers game. The Lakers. I love that gif of that weirdo. The Lakers. Austin Reeves. I like the fact that Austin Reeves, like you're saying, is handling the ball more. Doesn't bode well for D'Angelo Russell, but D'Angelo Russell's still doing D'Angelo Russell stuff. But what they do, and I love this site. It's called popcornmachine.net. It visualizes the rotations of the players, and what you see is Austin Reeves getting some of that mid second quarter, mid third quarter, second team overlap. And in those second team situations, especially when LeBron's not on the court, or D'Angelo Russell's not on the court, late in the first quarter as well, that's when he becomes the point guard. Like, and in that period of time, that's when Austin Reeves is taking on a completely different role. And that is that overlap, that playing with the second team, where Austin Reeves ends up adding the extra assist and a half a game, right? And that's huge. It makes a really big difference between getting a couple of seasons ago, 3.4 assists, like you said last season, 5.5. Now he's at 6. Like, I think it could be higher. I think it will be higher, especially once they get into J.J. Redick's, like, I guess, system or whatever they're running. Austin Reeves gets more reps with the second team being a distributor, ball handler. LeBron will trust him more to do that on the first team.
They're also just running a lot more complicated offense, I guess is the way I want to call it. Like they are doing a lot more off-ball cutting.
They're not doing the hey LeBron do something offense.
Right, they're doing a lot more things that are like getting them very easy baskets. Rui Hachimura has cleaned up a bunch. If you've watched the first 3 Lakers games, right, of just like I cut to the rim, no one's there, dunk, because everyone's watching Anthony Davis and LeBron and things like that. So like, there's a lot more just easy opportunities, and those easy opportunities are usually assisted opportunities.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's talk about, I mean, it's been a fun week 1. Let's talk about week 2, though. If you are new to the show, welcome. We are, as always, going to the advanced NBA schedule on #basketball.com to look at what is essentially. Let's see if I can get this whole thing on the screen. What's going on here, guys? Da, 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 da. I don't think I can get the whole damn thing on the screen. Let's see. All right. I have to adjust this a little bit. Good enough. All right, good enough. We got a busy week, but I think it's a good week for streaming. You got your Monday, Wednesday, Saturday games where chances are your roster's pretty full. Friday's a big night as well, 9 games, but Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and then the dreaded 15 games on Monday of week 3. So maybe a Tuesday stream in there. Maybe no. Is there no games on Tuesday? There's no games on Tuesday. What's Tuesday?
There's
Oh,
no
it's
games
election.
on
It's the
Tuesday for
election.
election day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, guys. Hey, yo, it's already it's the election already. Go vote. Go vote, everybody. That seems to be like an important thing to do. So because of that, it's going to be really hard to stream into next week. But this week, you got your Tuesday, Thursday teams: the Dallas Mavericks, Utah Jazz, both playing 4 games this week. So I feel like you can target them right off the bat. Get those 4 games in. Dallas actually got that coveted Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday schedule, so that's pretty nice. And then the Pelicans are Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So also, I think a pretty good team to target. Tyler, are there any players that you're targeting for this week going into week 2?
Yeah, I think it's important to just say the Sixers played 2 games. So if you're in a weekly locks league, you're probably not playing your Sixers. Like Tyrese Maxey, maybe, but
Don't
he
do
really
it.
hasn't been good. Like he's been struggling to hit shots, so I probably wouldn't even play him. I would just go for someone else, like playing 4 games.
What?
Obviously, all those 4-game teams like are the ones I'm focusing on, and there's 15 of them, so there's a ton of people to pick from. I will say too, I'm going to use every pickup I can for this week's matchup because, like you mentioned, right? There's all the game. Every team plays on Monday. Nobody plays on Tuesday, so there's really no sense in like saving a pickup for Wednesday. Like that just seems like it's so far away.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use all my pickups this week. Some guys that jump out on 4, like that are playing 4 games. That's a good question. Hawks, Dyson Daniels, right? He's still available in some leagues. Like I
That's
would
true.
go for him. The Nets got to have some guys, right? Because like Nick Claxton isn't playing a ton, right? But they've got some streamers. Dennis Schroeder, he comes to mind. Like 16 points, 6 assists. You need that. He's doing it for you.
I like that. Yeah,
Alice
Dennis
is kind of a
Schroeder
tough
seems
one,
to
right?
be really overlooked.
Yeah, and I don't really get why. I mean, like I get no one wants to watch the Nets, but like other than that, like
He's
he's
playing.
good.
Yeah, he's a starting point guard in the NBA. He should be on a roster somewhere.
Yeah, and I don't really have anybody else. Like Cam Thomas is definitely not a point guard, and they don't really have a backup. So Dennis Schroeder's going to play a lot of minutes. Like they don't really have a choice. Um, Alice has the best schedule, but like I don't really know of anyone that's jumping out. Like they struggle a lot in that game against the Suns for anybody to score who wasn't Luca, Kyrie, and Clay
Or
Thompson.
play. Yeah. I mean, like, I would still, if someone has gotten panicky and dropped Lively or Gafford or PJ Washington, I would pick them up because if they go off on a couple games and you get those 4 games and you get those off days, right? Those are some guaranteed starts. So I feel like I don't know if I would, I don't know if I would, unless you're in a deeper league, I don't know if Maxi Kleba would be worth it.
Oh yeah, definitely not. But I mean, Washington's probably the guy you want, right? He was like drafted in the 130s. He's probably been dropped because he hasn't been super good. Like, that's probably the one that you would focus on the most. I'll give you an interesting name or two, just from like guys that have been playing well too. Some of it's based on opportunity so far.
Okay.
Others of it's just based on, um, yeah, so Santi Aldama from the Grizzlies, right? Him
Yep.
and Jay Huff both have been playing. Like the Grizzlies need center minutes. Edie struggled with foul trouble. Scottie Pippen too is also ranked in the top 100, and he's
Yep.
their backup point guard. Scottie
Pretty
Pippen
good.
Jr. So those are 3 Grizzlies that are worth a look. I mean, especially if we're talking about like a game stream or two, like not anything crazy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The other one surprisingly, is Jordan Hawkins. Jordan
Yeah,
Hawkins is on a bit of a heater. And he's rebounding the ball, which the Pelicans, we talked about it, right? Like their lack of center forces them to need rebounds. And Jordan Hawkins has been sticking his nose in there and getting a lot of rebounds. He played 28 and a half minutes a game. He's the 52nd, 7th ranked player. He was not drafted either. So it's another name where you could get, stream him and get 4 games.
I'm actually pretty surprised that DeAndre Hunter is getting the amount of play in Atlanta. He's playing well. He's using his minutes well. Like he's getting that time, and it could be just hey, he's getting off to a really really good start. I think he's one of the top pickups on Yahoo's transactions. So if he's out there in your league in your leagues, like I would just see what's going on. He's getting enough minutes to be fantasy standard league relevant. So like I would pick him up and see how he does this week. But for like any of these like Tuesday teams, uh, I mean like the Golden State, I think like I just want to like you're saying, Tyler, I might just go get my as many starts as I can because I like to keep at least 2 to 3 streamers on my head-to-head teams. Just get my 2 to 3 streamers off of any of my Tuesday teams, any of my Thursday teams. And if you're in a league that's more than 4 pickups, if it's closer to 6, then finish it out on Sunday with whoever, like whatever stats that you might need to win the week. Like I don't think it's in fact, since it's not a terribly complicated week, it's going to be a little bit harder because everyone else is going to be kind of doing the same thing. So, if you can get PJ Washington like tonight, I would, because then you get that guaranteed. That's one pickup for your Tuesday, and then your Thursday and Sunday, and I think that is worth a decent amount of your free agent cap. Not like a decent amount. Like I don't know. This is the hardest thing to give advice on. Is everybody's got the fabs. Like some people's fabs are like $200 for the season. Other ones are like 20,000. And I'm like, well, what shouldn't this be standardized by now, Tyler?
Yeah, I don't really get the whole like, this is worth this and that's worth that. Like, I don't understand why we can't just like all have like $100 or $200 or whatever the number like is. I also don't like leagues where they're not $0 bids.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, always I just put $0 bids on everything, and unless it's like something I really need, like a PJ Washington, I'm gonna give PJ Washington like $8. But to me, that's a decent bid because like I'm not spending $45 out of 200 on hardly anyone, unless someone drops like I don't know Dyson Daniels or someone drops a top 80 player.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, like for someone like Washington, like out of 200, I would say like anything less than 10 is worth it, especially if you're gonna get all 3 games, and you're probably gonna get yourself 40, 45 points, couple threes, steal or two, good amount of rebounds, maybe a block. Who knows, right? Maybe 2 blocks. Like, you're not finding that production elsewhere where you're getting 3 full games.
Completely agree. Tyler, are there any players you're keeping an eye on with for the like I don't know for the next like short term, maybe like 2 to 3 weeks? Any players that maybe you're surprised they're having a hot start, and you want to know if you just want to keep an eye on see if where that goes, or just anyone who's like piqued your interest.
Oh, the old Kyle McEwen watch list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Golden State's maybe half their team, right? Like Wiggins is the 59th ranked player. He seems to be playing, but not really that much because nobody really seems to be playing that much because Steve Kerr's trying to play everybody.
Yes.
So him, Buddy Hield, like how those minutes are shaking out in a close game. We have not seen a close game yet, right? They have like outscored their 2 opponents by a combined like 38 points.
They're just hitting like 29,000 threes every night.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. The Pelicans center situation with Tice and Misi. I'm like, obviously, if you're in fantasy, you want Misi to start because he's going to get you some actual stats. So that's what I'm watching. the Grizzlies center thing with Jay Huff and Zach Edey. That's another one where like I'm kind of watching both those guys and who's going to play and what's going to happen there. And then like just those teams that people aren't paying attention to, I think they're all worth looking at the box score every night and watching. Like Denny Avdia is the 74th ranked player in Portland, right? Like I would guess most people don't know that. Scoot Henderson's the 80th ranked player,
Yeah.
even though he's coming off the bench. Like people don't really watch those teams. Dorian Finney-Smith for the Nets, 85th ranked player. Like, see who's playing the minutes on those teams.
Yeah.
See who's getting stats and doing things. Those are the guys that I'm really watching closely because I feel like there's always some good value there, whether they're rostered or not rostered, right? Like you can maybe get a good pickup that no one else is really noticing, and or you might be able to get a good trade asset that no one's really paying attention to, and you might be able to buy low on someone who, has a big opportunity and can be a lot better than what anyone thinks he can be.
100%. Like it's always the teams that people aren't paying attention to, where those little extra minutes, those players that no one's thinking about, and they're always on the waiver wire. That's where they live. One guy, it's the king of I don't know who's going to play tonight, and also how many minutes they will get tonight. The Miami Heat. Nikola Jovic is playing 27 minutes a game, Tyler, and I think a few people have mentioned him preseason. I don't know if we mentioned him. I feel like we did, but he's actually 92nd ranked player right now in 27 minutes. Good solid steals, a 3 steal block guy. I'm keeping an eye on where that goes, right? Is that a Bam Adebayo's not playing well, so he's playing a little bit more. Jimmy Butler's not playing well, so they're just rotating people in and out and going with a hot hand and just seeing what happens. Or are they trying to build a rotation and Jovic earns his place in the rotation? I would like to see that happen instead. But right now, I'm not running out to pick up Jovic, but I might stream him, and I'm definitely keeping an eye on him.
Yeah, I think he's going to play a lot, just based
So.
on everything that. So yeah, so that's obviously a very worthy guy to watch and maybe stream and maybe eventually hold on your roster depending on um, how he's playing and all that.
I think that's it for week 2, Tyler. Do you have anything to plug, and where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at Tyler P. Watts. And plug in, I did a mock draft. You can check it out on my Twitter. I linked it. You can also check it out on airalamo.com. Yeah, it was the first one of the year. College basketball is about ready to begin here in early November. And obviously this draft class has much hype, so it's worth checking out.
I've heard there's like a couple good, like kind of good players in this draft. I might actually know more than like 4 to 5 college guys' names before March Madness, which I think is saying a lot.
Yeah, there are 5 players that would have went number 1 in last year's draft, pretty unquestionably.
Absolutely nuts. And I used to be a giant, like when I was a kid, I was a giant college basketball fan. I grew up near the University of Illinois, so it's uh, that was obviously a great time during the D Brown, Darren Williams years, and I don't know. Once you watch enough, I mean they're kids. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, they suck. Once you watch enough kids miss wide open shots, or like don't make the right switch, or like get the ball to the mismatch like over and over again, it's kind of like, oh man, I can't watch this crap. But watching March Madness last season, I was like, you know what, the game is a lot quicker than it used to be. And there's a lot less of that nonsense where they're like following like a Princeton system to a T, and they can't do anything else, or else their coach will hit them with a chair, because they're in Indiana or whatever. I'm talking about Bobby Knight, Tyler. Do you have something against Bobby Knight, Tyler? Yeah, Tyler's pieced out.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry. No, no, I was reading about the Steph Curry injury. So Steph
oh
Curry injured
shit.
his ankle.
Serious or
Limped to the
not?
locker room with the training staff. Mike Dunleavy went down the tunnel with him. So I was lost in a tweet storm trying to figure out what happened and potentially find the play.
How serious it is. Well, that's not great. That's not fantastic. Hopefully we'll get some good news out of that, and there's no bad news, especially because I have Steph Curry on quite a few teams because I feel like he was getting overlooked. I think that's it. You can find me at Watch the Boxes on Twitter, and we will see you here in a little bit for some waiver wire pickups, some of the trends, who's high, who's not, buy low, sell high, and all the other fun stuff that we do here at Watching the Boxes throughout the week. I appreciate everybody who has followed us or joined us on the podcast or on our YouTube channel. We absolutely love the fact that people are jumping on there and engaging. And now that if you notice, it's a different setup back here. I moved this weekend. I moved like 3 days ago. So it's been the timing was perfect during the first week of fantasy basketball. So we are going to probably be able to have a little bit more of a solid schedule, and maybe I'll build myself a little studio here. Even who knows? But I think that's it. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.